Okay, now we're going to move on to item D, solid waste services update. Mr. Blackburn?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. We started last week with our new provider, FCC. Has been good. We're getting better every day. FCC is continuing to get better. I wanted to provide you a little bit of an overview, really focusing on who all's been making this happen from the state side, city side, and then also give you some sense of through Ms. Lamar Sarno, kind of what will be next. So I just want to give a shout out to a number of people. Every day, your key city staff members involved in solid waste or public works have met for the last 30 days or more. Every morning they start the day off. We were working with our previous provider, Waste Pro, trying to make sure that we were encouraging them to finish as strong as possible. And then we've also been working with FCC to ensure they get off to a quick start and that they understand the high standards we expect them to achieve. So I just want to mention several folks. Lois Cardinale, who previously worked with Waste Pro, now works with the city, and Lois is the person you get on the phone a lot of times. So Michael Hahn, Mike Lubeck, raise your hand. Summer Burdick, Dave Peters, who was on our solid waste advisory committee and agreed and has been a wonderful addition on a short-term basis to our city staff to help transition to our new service provider. Carmen Capizzuto, Wesley Armstrong, Bolivar Gomez, Jaime Matuo, William Morris from Public Works, Heath Stockton, Jasmine Padova, Melissa Una, and Sarah Prohanska. All of these folks literally been focused on solid waste every day. Mm-hmm. And again, the transition between Waste Pro and now FCC, as a team, you could not ask for more. As a group of folks in various departments trying to make sure that we get our solid waste services both in the past and now in the future, in the current and the future. They've done really a phenomenal job, and I personally am very appreciative for the work they have done. It's been really good. So I'd like to recognize Teresa Marsarno. Teresa will give an update on primarily where we are with FCC. You heard Mr. Stokes. We've moved into a litigation posture with our past provider. So,
Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you, Ross, and Madam Vice Mayor and Vice Mayor and the board. I want to first start off by thanking the residents for their continued patience during this transition, and I will provide a high-level summary. And I am supported by Mike Lubeck and Dave Peters and Sarah Prohaska, who are here to provide any answers to any specific questions that I may not be able to answer for you today. So I want to take a minute also to thank FCC Environmental Services for what they have accomplished last week. And hopefully all of you, including the members of the public, can see the chart that is in front of you right now. Thank you, Avi. Where you could see that from the chart, in fact, according to St. Lucie and Martin County landfills, on Saturday we did use Martin County landfill for some of the FCC trucks. Over 2,448 tons of waste was collected last week. That was Monday through Saturday. And just to put it in perspective, that tonnage is equivalent to 747 jets or 2 cargo ships. So I think this is an important metric that we could see as to what was out there and what FCC was actually successful at picking up. And it's pretty incredible. There is this chart also shows the steady decline in collection by Waste Pro beginning on 4th of July and going into August. I would be remiss to not note that there are still some very limited pockets where we continue to clear areas garbage outside of the city issued garbage carts. Today, everything that is in the automated city-issued garbage carts have been collected, as well as recycling. Both FCC and the city are working together to clear these areas as soon as possible. By this Friday, we expect all garbage left outside the cart to be completed. FCC is on schedule and expected to collect all garbage, recycling, yard waste, and bulk waste on their daily scheduled routes. Last week, with 1 PSL calls, Tuesday through Friday, there was a peak on Tuesday with over 2,000 calls. Today, that has significantly declined to about 853 calls today. So we expect that to continue to decline. I do want to extend my appreciation to the 1 PSL callers who have stayed late and also worked on Saturdays to help us answer and service our residents with any questions they might have. I also want to note for the residents that may be listening or here in the room, that if they could set out their garbage cart no later than 7 a.m. on their pickup day. And of course, our website, it has all this information. And the most important part is making sure that your carts are 3 feet apart and there's nothing obstructing. You will see that most of you have a little rock in front of you, if you haven't seen it. I want to thank Anne Marie from Communications, who took out the time out of her day and on her time to create those. And I understand they've been hidden throughout the city to continue to educate the public on that distance requirement and the need to make sure there's nothing obstructing. So definitely appreciate that. An update on the carts, they continue to be delivered, especially to our new communities, and per the certificate of occupancy list, which we're working daily. And recycling carts deliveries, those that were missed by Waste Pro, will resume this week. So those are my comments, and we are also going to continue educating our public by putting these friendly reminder tags of how to make sure you set your carts apart. So these are starting today. So if you see them, they're green, they look like this, and our code compliance officers will be out doing that as well. So I am open to any questions that you might have.
So real quick, I want to address a couple things. So we had about 100 people who did not get carts in the first go-round and get them by the start date of FCC. Where are we with making sure those 100 people that were missed got carts? Can we answer that?
Mike, are you able to answer that specifically?
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. Mike Lubeck, Assistant Director of Neighborhood Services. Those carts are being delivered, a combination of our original cart hauler, our cart delivery company, and also Code Compliance is assisting with some of them as well. So they should all be delivered, hopefully, within the next couple of days. There's been some inconsistencies with addresses, and also some of the streets are brand new, and it was hard to locate some of the addresses. So that should all be addressed.
And so the other question I have is, so we know that FCC has been picking up the automated carts, and that's the new carts and the recycle. And then we've had pockets, though, of communities where the excess garbage still hasn't gotten picked up. And so what are we doing? And I shouldn't say what are we doing. What is FCC doing to track that daily to make sure? And the reason why I'm concerned is because Friday was the pickup day for one of the communities. And here it was Monday, and their excess still wasn't collected. And we had to get trucks out there and have trucks go out this afternoon to make sure it was collected. And so that is their responsibility to open up those GPS routes and look at every single street to make sure that that wasn't missed. And so I don't want the burden to keep having to be on the residents and us to report it to FCC. I want to make sure FCC is checking every single street within that route every single day to make sure they're picking up the garbage.
Absolutely correct. It's their responsibility to do so. They have route managers that are out there in the field. Also, our 1PSLs, complaints that come in, advise them of missed areas. Even though you look at the GPS, which I do daily, I go back and I will look to see if anything was missed, but that's only going to pick up what is going to be on the side loaders or on the rear loaders. The vehicles being utilized right now to pick up outside the cart do not have GPS. So even though I can look at it today, which I did before I got here, and I can show you that all the streets were hit with the side loaders, you'd have to visually go out there and check to see if the trucks that don't have GPSs, which are going to be pickup trucks and trailers or any other support vehicles, that has to be eyes on, and you have to basically go out there and visually see it. So I'm not giving them an excuse. It is difficult. You have to get eyes on every single street, which was something that we were providing, but I think we're getting to that point now where we're not having the large volume that was outside the cart. We had 3 to 4 weeks of debris on the ground.
Right.
And a lot of people also, because I was out there visually watching this, where even though the truck would go by, then people would still bring stuff down directly after the truck passed, because a lot of them had stuff on the side of their house and they didn't want to put any more out front. So they are doing their best, I think, at collecting it, but it is their responsibility, you're right.
And so for the remainder of this week, they'll have the extra crews out picking up the excess, correct?
Correct.
To make sure that we're getting it all off the ground that's outside of the new carts.
They've assured us that they will have extra crews on to get everything off the ground.
Okay,
And we're
and
getting
then-
very close to that being accomplished.
Okay, and as long as that's accomplished by the end of this week, then as of next week, everyone should be putting garbage only in their new carts, correct? And recycling in their recycling carts.
Correct. By the beginning of next week, we should not see anything outside the cart.
Okay,
Everything should be in the cart, and we should be operation and normal.
great. Any other questions?
I did, maybe I misunderstood. You had said that some of the trucks that were out picking up the garbage that's on the ground don't have GPS?
They've hired subcontractors to help facilitate getting all this excess off the ground in the first week. Those vehicles are vehicles that they've leased from other companies, or they've hired a company to help facilitate picking up this debris. They're regular trucks with trailers, so they don't have GPSs on them.
Okay, I find that really hard to accept and to understand because everybody has GPS and everybody has a phone. Now, I'm not saying that they should have a phone and look at it when you're driving, but I don't understand why they wouldn't have a GPS.
Because they
I'm a little bit
weren't
confused.
trucks that had the GPS system in them. The trucks that are on the road, the FCC trucks, the new trucks, they have it in the system. The trucks that were picking up the excess garbage were pickup trucks with trailers on them. So the system isn't the same. Now, as of today, they brought in rear loaders, right?
Correct.
We got the rear loaders finally in because they finally had the certification.
Okay.
The drivers had the
That's
certification.
where the misunderstanding or
Right.
the miscommunication, which, thank you for clarifying that, and I get that. And I know there's so many new roads and so many new neighborhoods. Matter of fact, in our neighborhood, I did see a pickup truck pulling the trailer, picking up all the excess. I
Right.
just wanted to make one reiteration with the 3-foot distance. That includes your mailbox.
Absolutely.
And that also includes parking on the street, and the garbage truck can't get the arm to the garbage can because your car is parked in the right-of-way. So please be cognizant of all of this information. And that the biggest thing that gets me, I think, is, of course, I hate, I'm going to say it, Facebook. Instead of doing all your complaints on the social media, pick up and go to 1PSL and report it. Posting it on social media is not going to get you a quicker response than doing 1PSL. So it's help us, help you to become the best beautiful city. Thank
We all have to work together to make this new program, it's a new type of service work. Councilman Pickett?
Mike, with respect to the cards that they're going to put out, if the cans are not separated correctly, who's going to do that? Is the driver going to get out, or is he going to pick it up, or code enforcement going to follow around? And how long is that going to continue? Because I know when we first started this, when the FCC first started picking up, I had 3 or 4 cans sitting outside my house. I thought I spaced them 3 foot apart, but my distance was off, and they pick the can up, and they knock the other 2 over. So how long is it going to take before,
The education works, the
Yeah.
education gets in.
well, education, I learned real quick.
Yeah, I think, the drivers, getting back to your original question, the drivers were going out there and actually moving the carts so they could actually pick them up, because some would be surrounded by garbage. And I think it's a combination of situations such as yourself where, things got knocked over, or you did witness the fact they need to be separated. But I think we're educating as well, going out there with those tags and advising them how important it is that they separate them, because it's taking away from time for them to finish their routes if they have to stop and move a cart.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. After this initial phase-in period where, the learning curve basically, is it going to be the driver, or is it going to be, are we going to have the driver call code enforcement and say, hey, address 1916 Main Street, and I didn't pick it up, and then code's going to go out there and put a tag on it? Or is the driver going to be responsible for
It's the
that?
driver's responsibility. FCC is responsible for any non-collection. So part of the contract is they would have to notify the resident as to why they didn't collect, notify us why they didn't collect. And then we would follow up to ensure that that the issue was resolved. But hopefully we don't get to that. Hopefully we don't have as many that would affect the line of business.
And it's important to know that we've been talking about the 3 feet spacing. We've been talking about it. We've emailed about it. It's on social media. We've put out numerous press releases. We put out information that came with your carts. So the 3 foot spacing is vitally important. We have to keep up the education process, but this is last week and this week is really our major transition weeks. And, we'll probably have a little bit more bumps along the way here and there, but these are our major 2 weeks for this transition. So as many people as we possibly can to understand that the carts have to be 3 feet apart in order for this whole entire new program to be successful, the better. So share with your neighbors, if you talk to your neighbors. We're just going to keep pumping out this information, and it's going to get repetitive, as maybe it already has been for some who are already spacing the carts out, but we're going to keep reiterating this over and over.
Yeah, and I think Councilman Morgan made up a very good point. It's not just the cart separation, but it's also making sure there's nothing in front of it, around it.
Right.
Vehicle nearby where they can't pull up close enough to actually, access the cart. So all that plays into the role. Make sure they're accessible, and so they can quickly go on their way. So.
Any other questions? Yes.
In regards to yard waste, how are they doing with yard waste? And I'm just wondering, are they picking up with it, or are they using those services to try to catch up with the backlog?
They're using those services to pick up as much of the yard waste as possible. We're assured that they're going to have more rear loaders in place, so those should be actually addressing the yard waste going forward.
The only reason why I was asking is because mine wasn't picked up today, but I do have it in a can. So I just want to make sure, and just for process reasons, I put it in a can. Do you still want it in a can? Do we want it on the floor? Like, what's better as far as for them to see? Because I'm wondering if they did go by but just didn't see it, they thought it was garbage.
I think a can is probably easier for them to service, time-wise. It's more efficient. That if it's in a can, they can grab the can and dump it versus reach in there and picking it up. So I think it's due to the subcontractors being utilized. I think there is some miss issues with the carts not being, or the cans not being identified as being yard waste. But we keep on communicating with them that they need to be addressed. Obviously, if it's sticking out of there and it's yard waste, they need to pick it up either way.
So with all due respect, I do think that compliments should go to FCC for that entrepreneurship and ingenuity to say, we're going to get small vendors if necessary with trailers to do that. I mean, if the last hauler would have done that, we probably wouldn't be in the situation that we are today. So I do want to compliment them on their effort and thinking outside the box, because that's what we hire them to do. Quick update on our solid waste site that we have by the school. Are we still taking bulk waste? Are we still taking recyclables? Can people still drop things off there? What does that look like?
Yes, it's still being utilized. You can bring both of those at this time, which will be your bulk and recyclables, until the need for the recyclables will at some point phase out, because you can obviously, it'll be picked up on a regular basis going forward. Bulk waste will probably continue for the duration, because someone's not going to wait 3 weeks to bring a couch, to the curb. So those will continue.
So I did have someone earlier today ask me about the bulk waste, and so we are doing bulk waste once a month, but we will have the site on Cameo to be able to continue to service bulk waste if someone needs to get rid of something.
Absolutely, that's what its intent is for.
Thank you.
Any other comments, questions?
I just want to thank everyone on staff, reiterate the city manager, Mr. Lubeck. I always tell everyone, I send you an email, I get a response in 2 minutes or less. So you guys are doing a lot to help us navigate through what was a very challenging situation. And so thank you very much for that. And as the mayor said, it can't be said enough. The city's done a lot of communication through social media, through interviews and through releases and calls. But if you see your neighbor and their can isn't 3 feet apart, maybe move it for them and then go knock on their door and say, yeah, the can has to be 3 feet apart, because it's going to take a lot of us getting the message out here, because not everybody has the time to tune in to the notifications from the city, and we understand that. And so just going back to the basics of neighbors helping neighbors, that's very important. Do we have any information or data on how recycling went this first week? And was there still a lot of trash in the recycling bins, or how did
There was still a very high level of contamination. I hear what you said.
Ma'am, please don't speak out.
There's still a high level of contamination at this point. So we are doing checking. We'll continue to check until we get to a point that a contamination level is low enough, so that it'll be accepted again.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Okay, I just want to thank the team publicly. It has been, I know, a nightmare. I know it's been a bear. You all have worked hundreds, if not thousands of hours, and it has been the biggest challenge, and I think that we've ever had in my 12 years on this council. And so there is no amount of thanks that I can give each and every one, members of our team and our PSL call takers, everyone, that would be adequate, remotely adequate or enough. But I just want to say thank you to each and every one of you. You've given up time with your families, you've given up vacations, you've given up a lot in order to get us to this place where we are now and where we're going to continue to go. And so thanks to each and every one of you. And I've dealt with the calls, the emails, everything. Being in the office every day, hearing what our staff has dealt with and gone through, and the levels of frustration, which are justified on behalf of all of our residents. It's just been truly a nightmare, and we're finally coming out of it, and the light is shining bright at the end of this tunnel. And so thank you again. Kudos to each and every one of you.
Thank you, Mayor, and the staff and the team has been amazing, and I've been so proud to be working with them every day, day in. And you're right, it's been very long hours, and I'm just glad that we're able to help the residents of the city of Port St. Lucie.
Thank you. Okay. We're going to move on now to public to be heard.